Welcome. In this lecture on NCERT, we would understand the structure and physiography of India. To begin with, let's focus on structure. So, the structure can be broadly divided into three elements: the peninsular block, then we have the Indo-Gangetic, and the Himalayan area. So here on the map of India, we would understand each of these structural origin first, and then we would understand the physiography. So to understand the structure, we say that the current estimations believe that Earth originated nearly 640 million years ago. Now with that year span of origin, we have seen that numerous changes have undergone, and it was basically the Australian plate that from which Indian plate separated. So the Australian plate actually moved in the southwest direction and Indian plate towards the northern direction, and this brought in the major change in the analysis which was witnessed. Okay, so we have the various things that we would understand here. To begin with, the very first one is the peninsular block. Now this peninsular block is an irregular block, as you can see here. So this peninsular block, which is an irregular block, is flanked by numerous things. You have Aravallis in the west, then you have the Kutch region in the region of Gujarat. In the region on the eastern side, you have the Indo-Ganga plains. So you have the Ganga river which can be seen here, and then we have the various plateaus which are separated. So in the region of Meghalaya, it's the Meghalaya and the Karbi Anglong plateau which is seen. In the region of West Bengal, it is the Malda plains which are seen. And since Cambrian period, so it's from the Cambrian period that we have seen that this peninsula established itself as a rigid block. So this rigid block was very important, and some of the exceptions were there. The western part got submerged in the sea. We also see that changes which were witnessed because of the tectonic changes which occurred. So the tectonic forces and the tectonic changes affected the development here. We also see certain residual hills which are mainly the Aravalli hills, the Nallamalai, the Polakonda hills, the Javadi hills in the south. So those are some of the exceptions, or the residual hills which are seen. Similarly, we also have witnessed that most of the river valleys have shallow gradient. So rivers have shallow gradient in this region of peninsula, and the east flowing rivers from delta. So you have Krishna, Godavari, Kaveri, as Mahanadi in the region of Odisha. So all these are the delta areas which are predominantly seen on the east coast. So on the east we have formations of delta. So delta formation was again an important aspect which was witnessed as part of the peninsular block. The next is the Himalayan block. The Himalayan, you have this region which runs along the northern part, the region of Nepal, parts of Tibet, and the northern mountains in the regions of Arunachal Pradesh. Compared to the peninsular block, the Himalayan block is relatively young. It is weak and more flexible. Since, as we said, the plate moves towards its north, this was the region which was collapsing, and there was a rigid stable mass which was in the peninsula, in contrast to the young and weak part in the Himalayan region. And here we have both the exogenic forces as well as the endogenic forces which acted very well in this region to form various structures. So in this region we have various gorges, there are V-shaped valleys, active rapids, waterfalls which are seen in the northern plain. So northern plain is a great example of the young and the relatively active landmass. The next is the Indo-Ganga Brahmaputra plain. So here is the Indus river, you have the Ganga river and the Brahmaputra river. Now all these rivers, so here is the Indus river. Now all these rivers together form this plain area, and this is known as the Indo-Brahmaputra Ganga plain area. Now this Indo-Brahmaputra Ganga Plain area is one of the important geological divisions. So under the geological division, the peninsular is done, the Himalayan is done. The third one is the Indo-Brahmaputra Ganga division. Now this division, here there was a synclinal depression which was seen along the river lines. So this synclinal depression actually was the region where sedimentations and depositions were seen, and the phase of the Himalayan origin is somewhere 64 million years old. These sediments which were brought by Himalayas were deposited in those alluvial plains, and these are around 1000 to 2000 meters in height, and there have been far-reaching impact in these areas as per the depositional trend. We have seen that various geomorphological processes have led to active formations in those areas, and significant alluvial deposits has led to good agricultural potential in the present respect in this region. So those are some of the structural demarcations that we have understood in this region. To begin with the physiography, under physiography we have 6 divisions. What are those? The first is the northern and the northeastern mountain regions. The second is the northern plains. So the north and the northeastern mountain, which is the Himalayan region. The northern plain areas, the peninsular area. Then we have the desert area, the coastal area, and the island area. So those are the 6 divisions which have been explained under the physiography of India. When we talk about physiography, what exactly is physiography? Physiography explains the structure. It talks about the process and the stages of development, and it explains the peaks, the mountains, the valleys, and the plateaus all together in one go. So if we focus on what have been some of the major structures across India, if we label on this map, we have the desert area. So I can just mark it as desert here. The peninsular region here. This is the western coastal area, the eastern coastal area. Then we have certain important rivers. So we have Mahanadi, the delta of Mahanadi. We have Godavari, the delta of Godavari, Krishna, the delta of Krishna, and the Kaveri, delta of Kaveri. Then we have the Narmada and the Tapti river. Between the Narmada and the Tapti is the Satpura hills. North of the Satpura are the Vindhyan mountain ranges. In the north we have the Himalayan range, further subdivided into the Karakoram range, the Ladakh range, the Zaskar range, and the Shiwalik range. Now Shiwaliks are the lower Himalayas where lots of dunes are also seen. So Dehradun, for example, is a example where small hills are actually represented. Then in the northeast we have the Garo, Khasi and Jayantia hills in the regions of Meghalaya. Then we also have the Kutch area. Now this is the area where we have salt and saline deposits. A lot of saline farming and related developments have been seen in those areas. So this is roughly the idea of the representation of the Himalayan region. Now in this, let's first understand each of these physiographies one by one. So to begin with, the very first physiography we have is the north and the northeast plains. Now when I say north and northeast plains, this north and northeast plains would be further divided into 5 subsections. The first is the Kashmir hills, which is also known as the Northwest Himalayas. The second is the Himachal, which is relatively lesser in height. It is also known as the Uttarakhand ranges. The next is the Darjiling and the Sikkim hills. So they are in the regions of North, West Bengal and Sikkim. You have Arunachal Himalayas. And finally, the eastern hills which are seen. So, eastern hills. Now, this categorization of Kashmir, Uttarakhand, then we have the regions of Darjiling and Sikkim, then the region of Arunachal Pradesh and the eastern hills. So, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 areas through which it is studied. Now, they also study it across the height. So, we call it as Ladakh. So the uppermost here, not here, so it would be here itself. So it would be the Karakoram, Ladakh, Zaskar and Shiwalik ranges north to south. So this is what we have, west to east, and then we also have north to south. Now whatever classification we use, Great Himalayan range includes the Great Himalayas, it includes the Shiwaliks, it includes the Himalayas in the regions of Darjiling, Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, and this whole central axis through which the Himalayan mountain chain runs is considered as 2500 kilometers long east to west, and from north to south, if we say, the width varies from 160 to 400 kilometers. Himalayas are highly important. They are not just a physical barrier between the two nations, but they are also a cultural barrier. They are a climatic barrier, because of which we have the unique phenomena of monsoon which is prevalent on the Indian land, and then they are also an important source for origin of rivers. So drainage is again a unique characteristic which is bestowed because of this region. So those are some of the key highlights that we have understood for this classification. Now to begin with, let's talk about each of these Himalayan ranges one by one. So let's first focus on the very first range, which is the Kashmir or the Northwest Himalayas. So if I zoom in here, the region of Kashmir, this is the region where you have the Kashmir Himalayas. So as I mentioned previously, you have a set of ranges which is Karakoram, then you have Ladakh, Zaskar, and then the lowermost as Shiwalik ranges, which run here in the regions of Jammu Kashmir. This is the region where you also have a cold desert region, which is the Ladakh. So Ladakh is another area which is represented here, and this is the area where there is cold desert which is witnessed. You also have numerous mountain ranges. Pir Panjal is one of the important ranges. Then you have some of the important glaciers here in the northern area. Those are Baltora, Siachen as some of the major glaciers. We also have some of the important lake formations. Dal Lake is again a very important lake. In the regions of Kashmir here, we have Karevas. Now Karevas are known for saffron cultivation. So saffron cultivation in Karevas is highly famous, and the variety here is known as Zafran. So saffron is one of the major developments. Besides Dal Lake, we also have another important lake here, which is the Vular Lake. So Vular Lake, Dal Lake are some of the important lakes. Here on the border area where we have the line of control, we have this Pangong Lake, and Pangong Lake is another important lake. So here we have the Pangong So Lake, which is another important landscape that you can see. I'll just zoom in a little because you would be able to understand the boundaries of Kashmir here. We also have various pilgrimage sites. So Vaishno Devi, Amarnath Caves, Charare Sharif are some of the important pilgrimage sites. So pilgrimage again is an important thing in the region of Kashmir Himalayas. Srinagar is one of the capital cities located on the bank of Jhelum River. So Srinagar, the capital city on Jhelum River, is again important. Jhelum lies in the valley of Kashmir, is known for the meanders that are formed in this region and the lively atmosphere that is created across it. Also, we have seen that Karevas are one of the important deposits in those areas. The next is the Himachal or the Uttarakhand region. So if I move here, this is the area. I zoom in a little, and if I zoom in, you have a lot of boundaries which are seen. So I just remove the borders, and you would just have the border, no labels here. Okay, so here are some of the regions of Uttarakhand. As you can see, those are witnessed, and those are some of the major places that you can see across the region of Uttarakhand. Now this is the part which is very unique, and you have some of the very important structures. To understand it better, what we need to know is that this part lies between two important rivers. So it's the Ravi River and the Kali River. So Ravi River, the Ravi River which joins the Indus, and the Kali River, the region between the two, which is a tributary for Ganga, and Ravi is a tributary for Indus. So between these two you have this Uttarakhand Himalayan region, and this is again a subdivision from the cold desert area of Ladakh, where you have a little district of Lahul and Spiti. So Lahul and Spiti, where you have a little of cold desert which is seen. So a kind of reminiscence from the Ladakh area is seen here. Now, in this area, we have locally seen developments. What are those locally seen developments? Those locally seen developments are the developments which are mainly in the region of the mountain ranges. We can see three important mountain ranges. Those are the Great Himalayas. Just a second. So, those are the Great Himalayan ranges. Then you have the Lesser Himalayas. And finally, you have the Shiwalik ranges. Now, what are the ranges that come under these three heads? Under the Great Himalayas, you would have the major ranges, which are the extension of Ladakh and the Karakoram extension. Under the Lesser Himalayas, it is mainly the Dhauladhar in the regions of Himachal Pradesh and Nagitba in the regions of Uttarakhand. Then we have Shivaliks, which are the lowermost. We also have numerous hill stations in those areas. So in the regions of Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand, for example, you have Shimla, Kasauni, Mussoorie, Almora, Lansdowne, Ranikhet as some of the major tourist attraction and tourist sites, hill stations as we can say, which are located in those regions. Also, this region is known for dune formation. So Patni Dune, Dehradun, we have Kalka Dune, Nalagarh Dune, Harik Dune, Kota Dune as some of the common examples, of which Dehradun is the largest dune, which is said to be around 35 to 45 kilometers in length, and in width it is around 20 to 25 kilometers. In the Greater Himalayas, it is predominantly the Bhutia tribe which is seen, and they are nomadic groups which migrate to Bugyals, and Bugyals are the summer grasslands. So they return to the valley in the winter, they go to the grasslands in the summer, and also there is a very famous Valley of Flowers. So this Valley of Flowers is again an important landmark which is seen in this region, and this is the area where we have major glaciers. So Gangotri Glacier, Yamunotri Glacier, we have the places of worship like Kedarnath, Badrinath, Hemkund Sahib, which are situated in these areas. So those are some of the very important locations as part of the Himachal Pradesh and the Uttarakhand area. The next region that we understand is the Darjiling and the Sikkim area. So this is the region where you have Sikkim and Darjeeling, as you can see, and this Sikkim and Darjeeling area is the area that we would understand next. So this Sikkim and Darjeeling is unique because it is flanked by Nepal in the west. So one of the major areas is Nepal in the west and Bhutan in the east. So it lies between Nepal and Bhutan. So this is Nepal, this is Bhutan, and this is the region of India where you have Sikkim and Darjeeling. Now you have high mountain peaks like Kanchenjunga. There are deep valleys. Darjiling Himalayas are popular. You have tribals from central India, Nepalis, Bengalis, which are predominantly seen here, and this is known for Dwar formation. So you have Dwar formations which are seen here. That is by the absence of Shivaliks. Now since there is absence of Shivaliks, you have Dwar formations and lots of tea gardens. So in the Darjeeling you have numerous tea gardens which are developed. Also this is known for its scenic beauty. It is known for numerous glaciers which are seen here, and well distributed rainfall witnessed throughout the year with mild winters and plantation agriculture. So good organic content is seen. Sikkim is one of the first organic states in India that we already know. So some of the developments that we have seen here in terms of the growth here are mentioned. Now next that we come here is the Arunachal Pradesh area. So this is the, just a second. So this is the area which is the region of Arunachal Pradesh. So as you can see, the red boundary here is the region where you have the Arunachal Pradesh. So Arunachal Himalayas are important. We have the Tawang, which is one of the very famous Buddhist monastery here. Now this is the region where some of the mountain peaks are located. You have Namcha Barwa. I'll just minimize it to have better clarity when I write. So just a second. Okay, so this is the area where we have, this is the region of Arunachal Pradesh. Now in the region of Arunachal Pradesh, you have Kangut, Namcha Barwa as some of the important mountain ranges. Now within the Brahmaputra, you have the tributaries. So Subansiri, Dihang, Dibang, Lohit are some of the tributaries. Again, most of the important practices here is zooming cultivation. So zooming agriculture, which is also known as shifting cultivation, is an important practice which is seen in those areas. Most of the community is indigenous. The topography is rugged. You also have door formations which are seen here, and transport linkages are not that apt, but still Arunachal Assam border is the area where you have good communication and good transport linkages as of now. Coming on next is the Eastern Hills and the Eastern Himalayas. Now Eastern Hills and Eastern Himalayas are known by different names in different parts of the region. So we already have the Garo Khasi Jayantia Hills. So in the region of Meghalaya, let me zoom it again. So we have the region of Meghalaya. So here is the Garo Khasi and Jayantia Hills. Then we have the Dafla Hills in the Assam area, the Mizo Hills in the Mizoram area, the Lushi Hills here in the Mizo area. So Mizoram, we have the Lushi Hills. I'll just reduce it, minimize it again. Okay, so in the regions of Meghalaya, it is Garo, Khasi and Jayantia. So Garo, Khasi, Jayantia. In the regions of Nagaland, you have the Naga Hills. In the regions of Mizoram, you have the Mizo Hills, the Lushai Hills. Now, then in the Manipur, we have the Loktak Lake, again a very important lake. In the Mizoram, we have the Molasses Basin. Molasses Basin is soft unconsolidated deposits, and in the Nagaland we have the tributaries of Brahmaputra which are seen. So two rivers which are mainly in the regions of Manipur and Mizoram are the Barak River, which is in turn a tributary of Meghna River, and in the eastern part of Manipur there is another river which is known as Chindwin. So Chindwin is again a tributary of Irrawaddy. Irrawaddy falls into Myanmar. Meghna would go into the region of Bangladesh. So Chindwin and Barak are two important rivers which are seen as part of this region, and the important hills of the eastern areas we have already said. And then we also have Patkaibam, the Dafla Hills. So those are some of the common hills. Now the most important thing is the mountain ranges of the Himalaya have an arrangement of a very important direction which is east to west, but when it comes to the eastern part it is north to south. So the arrangement here is north to south. A lot of zooming cultivation or shifting agriculture is also seen in this range, and numerous small rivers keep cutting the Himalayan segments in this region. So you have another important development which is seen in this area. So those are some of the key highlights of the physiography of the north and the northeast plains of India. Next to the north and the northeast mountain area, we have the northern plain area. Now the next physiographic region, which is the northern plain area, is interesting area because this is the area which is drained by most of the rivers. From north to south, there is around 3,200 kilometers of extension. From east to west, sorry, not north to south, east to west, you have 3,200 kilometers of extension, and the average width is around 1500 to 300 kilometers. The depth is 1000 to 2000 meters, and the topmost layer is what is known as Bhabar. Now below the Bhabar you have the Tarai belt. Now Bhabar is a belt of 8 to 10 kilometers. Next is Tarai, around 10 to 20 kilometers, where rivers emerge, re-emerge in those areas, and this is the area where a swampy condition is seen. Below the Tarai is the new deposits. Now these new deposits are known as Bhangar and Khadar. Khadar and Bhangar are the old and the new deposits, and here in the Khadar we do have the calcareous nodules which are seen. Now these are the areas which are known for their alluvial deposits, and then in the region of West Bengal, here we have the formation of Sundarban Delta. Now Sundarban Delta is the delta which is formed because of the riverine conditions and the sandbars, and this whole area is considered as a plain area since it is featureless, no big features, no mountains, no plateaus that is there, and it also forms a water divide. So you have Indus on one side and Ganga on one side, creating a water divide, and then here you have the Brahmaputra river that flows. So it creates a water divide and a clear channel to the areas that would be drained by the three major rivers in the plain area. So this is about the plain area. Coming on next is the next classification, which is the desert area. So you have the region west of Aravallis. So west of Aravalli, the Aravalli mountain chain, which runs in the part of reaches till the part of Delhi in the north and till the part of Gujarat in the south. West of the Aravalli is so this is the Aravalli mountain chain, and west of Aravalli is the Thar Desert. Now Thar Desert is unique because it has dunes, the longitudinal dunes, the barkans which are commonly seen here, and it is believed that during the Mesozoic period of the Mesozoic era, this portion was under sea. As a result, in the Jaisalmer area, we also have a wood fossil park which is witnessed, and this wood fossil park in the region of Brahmasar near Jaisalmer, where wooden fossils up to nearly 180 million years old are seen. We also have a wood fossil park as Akal, which is another wood fossil park, and the marine park, which is the Brahmasar park, indicating that this portion was under sea in the Mesozoic period. Now, towards the south, in the region close to the Rann of Kutch, we see that the rivers here are ephemeral. They are basically seasonal, and this region is predominantly a water deficit region. The water deficit is clearly witnessed in those areas, and the lakes which are seen here, for example, we have the Sambar lake, the Dindwana lake. All of these lakes are saline lakes. Payalas or saline encrustations are also seen. Brackish water is there, and therefore salt production is one of the major activities which is witnessed in these areas. So coming on next, the next physiographic area is the coastal plain. Now coastal plain are again a very important example. So within the coastal plain we have the western and the eastern coastal plain. So this is the western coastal plain, and then we have the eastern coastal plain. Western coastal plain is considered as a submerged coastal plain, and this was once a part of the mainland India, and the west coast was finally submerged in water. Now here we have the Kutch area, the Kathiawad area, the region of the Konkan, and finally the Kerala coast. So three important divisions, which is the Kathiawad coast, the Konkan coast, and the Kerala coast. Now Kerala coast is known for its beautiful lakes, the backwaters which are seen here. Konkan is known for its unique scenic the scenic beauty, and Kathiawad is the another classification which runs in the region of Gujarat, Konkan in the region of Maharashtra, and then we have the region of Kerala coast, so Konkan in the region of Maharashtra and Karnataka. Now in the region of Kerala we have a boat race which is held in the Punamadda Kayyal in Kerala, and this is known as the Nehru Trophy Vallamkalli. So Vallamkalli is the boat race which is done here. Now compared to the western coast, eastern coastal area is relatively broad, The coast area is much more broad, and this is an example of emergent coastline in contrast to western coast, which is an example of submergent coastline. So west coast is submergent, east coast is emergent. In the east coast, we have well-developed delta. So Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri are some of the common deltas which are witnessed here. A number of ports and harbors which are seen in the east coast are relatively lesser as compared to the west coast. So in the west coast, we have Kandla, Mazgaon, Nhava Sheva, Mumbai port, Marmegoa, then we have Cochin, Mangalore. So west coast has numerous ports in contrast to east coast, which has relatively fewer number of ports and coast. So some of the important ones are the Kolkata, Haldia, Chennai, Visakhapatnam as the major coast, the port areas, the harbor areas which have been seen. So the next is the island group. So off the coast of Kerala, we have this region of Lakshadweep. Now if you zoom this region, you have Kavaratti, which is the capital. In the south, we have Minicoy. So north, we have most of the island groups which are located, and it is believed that there are nearly 36 island groups which are seen. Now of these island groups, we have 11 of which are inhabited. So just 11 islands are inhabited. Amini is one of the important islands. Similarly, Kannur is another important island which is seen here. These islands are coral in origin, lying in the region of Arabian Sea with an area of 453 kilometer square. And then we have another island group which is on the Bay of Bengal area, and this is the Andaman and Nicobar island group. So let's move on to the region of Andaman and Nicobar, and here we have the Andaman and Nicobar island group. Now this Andaman and Nicobar island group is again important. Here we have two important categories. One is the Riche archipelago and the other is the Labyrinth island group. Now Riche archipelago is predominantly the Greater Andaman. You have Andaman's Little Andaman and then the region of Nicobar. It is separated by 10-degree channel. Now Riche archipelago forms a part of the Greater Andaman area. Then we also have the Labyrinth island group. Labyrinth island group is another archipelago which is another important part of the Mahatma Gandhi Marine National Park along with twin islands. In the region of Nicobar, we have the Barren Island or the Barren Island, which is one of the only active volcano which is witnessed. So this is again important. This is a part of submarine mountain which has evolved over the time. It is believed that it is one of the very important island groups that have been registered, and there are nearly 572 small and big islands. So you have Andaman, Greater Andaman, Middle Andaman, Little Andaman, and then Greater Nicobar and Car Nicobar. So those are some of the categorizations under Andaman and Nicobar. The entire group is broadly divided into Andamans in the north and Nicobars in the south, separated by 10-degree channel. Barren Island, as we said, is important. Coral origin is little as compared to the Lakshadweep, which is extensively coral islands, and here we also have some beautiful beaches which are seen. Equatorial type of vegetation is also seen in these areas. So that is about the kind of patterns which are seen here. Coming on next is the peninsular area. Now within the peninsular area, we have some of the very important things to understand. The peninsular block of India is a block which is, as I said, old, it is stable, it is rigid, and you have numerous plateaus. So Hazaribagh, Pamula Plateau, Malwa Plateau, Ranchi Plateau, all of those known for extensive mines and extensive mineral deposits. This is one of the oldest and the most stable structure and is divided into three categories. One is the Deccan Plateau area, the next is the Central Highland area, and the third one is the Northeastern Plateau area. So let's understand these three. But before that, let's understand a general introduction about the peninsular region. So peninsular region, as we said, is nearly 150 meters above sea level, and at some places the elevation can go up to 600 to 900 meters. The northwest area, you have the Aravallis and the desert area, you have the Gir range in the west. The south you have the Cardamom range, and in the east again you have the northeastern area. There have been constant phases of upliftment and submergence which have been witnessed in this peninsular block, and you have numerous important ravines in the region, specifically in the regions of Madhya Pradesh, those Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. So it's the Malwa and the Deccan Plateau, it's the Chambal, Morena and Bhind ravines, which are extremely popular ravines which are witnessed. Now coming on to the categorization each one by one. So the first one is the Deccan Plateau. Now Deccan Plateau, as we know, is bordered by Western Ghats in the west, then Eastern Ghats in the east, Satpuras in the north and Mahadev Hills in the north. So that is the extension of the Deccan Plateau. Now this Deccan Plateau has another extension in the north, which is the Malwa Plateau. Now this plateau incorporates regions of Maharashtra, Karnataka, Nilgiri, Tamil Nadu. In the Tamil Nadu you have Annamalai Hills. In the regions of Karnataka you have the Nilgiri Hills. So Nilgiri, Annamalai are some of the common areas. The height here is up to 1500 meters. Then we have one of the highest peak, which is Annamudi. So Annamudi in the regions of Tamil Nadu is the area where you have one of the highest peaks which are located, which is known as Annamudi. Then most of the peninsular rivers form delta. On the eastern coast, on the west, you have two important rivers, which is Narda and Tapti, and they do not form the delta. Besides that, some of the important mountain ranges are Palakonda, Nalakonda, Mahadev Giri. Then we have the Eastern Ghats and the Western Ghats, which are explained here. Coming in a little north of it, we have the Central Highlands. So a little north we have the Central Highlands. The region of Central Highland is interesting. Now this is bounded by Aravali's in the west. This is bounded by Aravali's in the west. You have Satpura in the regions of south, and then you have an elevation of 600 to 900 meters, which is seen as part of the Central Highland. There are discontinuous ranges which are part of the Central Highland. From the west part to the east part, there is a lot of diversions which are seen. So Yamuna is one of the major rivers that originate in this area. Kaimur range is another important mountain range which is witnessed. Banas and Chambal are the two major rivers which drain the region of Central Highland, and in the eastern part we have the Chota Nagpur Plateau and the reserves of mineral which are seen in the regions of Chota Nagpur Plateau. So regions of Jharkhand, regions of Chhattisgarh are the areas where you have this mineral deposits which are seen. So that was the part of the Central Highland, the key characteristics of Central Highland. Coming on last is the Northeast Plateau area. So the Northeast Plateau area, as we say, is a extension. So here we have the Garo Khasi Jaintia, as we already mentioned, in the region of Meghalaya. So Garo Khasi Jaintia hills are there, and similar to the Chota Nagpur Plateau, you have rich mineral resources which are seen in the Meghalaya region. Some of the common resources are sillimanite, then there is limestone, there is uranium. Also this region receives one of the highest rainfalls. We have Mizoram, the region with highest rainfall, superseding Cherrapunji, which was the previous region of highest rainfall. Now we now see that there are also bare rocky surface which are not having permanent vegetation in those areas. You have the Karbi Along Plateau area along with the Meghalayan Plateau, and between the Rajmahal Hill and the Meghalaya Plateau there have been huge faults which are witnessed, and these huge faults are again part of the Northeastern Plateau area. So in this lecture we have understood the three structures, which is the peninsular, Indo-Gangetic and the Himalayan structure, based on the geological formations, based on the Physiography, which is the structure, growth and the stage of development, we have the north and the northeast mountain area, which is the Himalayan belt, the northern plain areas, the desert areas in the west, the peninsular area in the south, which again comprises of Deccan, Central Highland and Northeast Plateau. We have the coastal area and the island area. So that was about the physiography, a very important chapter from your NCERT. Some of the very basic introductory concepts have been discussed here. Greater detail we would dive into when we would be understanding geography of India in greater detail. So this was about your NCERT lecture. Stay tuned for further updates from our side. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.